I don't actually know how to do this video. YouTube videos have a tendency to feel like a sloppy shopping TV guide where everyone's trying to be a salesman. And for this one, I hope this video won't disqualify the purity of these clothes. I chose to review and highlight this collection all the way from 2017 because, one, because we're all guilty of fashion amnesia, and I wanted to represent fashion's lost moments, as a reminder. This will be an ongoing project of mine where I'll be reviewing older collections, especially for avant-garde designers like Rick Owens. So before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you love to see any updates about me, outfits, fit pics. This is my Instagram. So for a moment, let's forget about TikTok. Let's forget about Matthew Blasy's Chanel on the subway of New York. Let's forget about Kylie Jenner's Miu Miu campaign. Let's go all the way back to 2017. WALRUS is the name of Rick Owens' Spring-Summer 2017, both for the menswear and women's wear. In terms of show title, Owens centered on the idea of using the name of an alien-looking creature so far removed from our everyday lives. Alien is a word that Rick Owens has been using quite recently. His aliens are the outsiders of beauty. His people who has a shared discipline of mutual weirdness. And also alien can be an evolution of what a body can undergo or what a body could evolve into. And this alien concept, body behaves like a mutable architecture, folding and unfolding with the world, constantly in rehearsal, it's constantly becoming. To further review this 2017 collection, let's briefly go back to 2016 where it all happened. In 2016, the Macedon collection, he thought about dinosaurs and their exaggerated weird shapes. And if these dinosaurs, these powerful dinosaurs, these powerful creatures who've lived in this earth for over 150 years can be extinct, so can we as humans. And it's kind of scary, but knowing that it's inevitable, there's something graceful about that. Also, the death of his father in 2015 had him creating a series of thundering introspection and homage to life and death. Yet for every extinction, there is evolution. There will always be hope as long as there's life. That's where the walrus enters in the picture. The walrus having existed for at least 17 million years. The walrus is the king of adaptation. Rick Owens even said in an early interview that the creative act is the opposite of decline and death, and that's why we as humans are drawn to it. Hence, during this period, he submerged himself in all this creative energy, or more or less a creative catharsis.
I heard Rick Owens to come to receive his Life Achievement Award.
Now we can finally establish that the walrus not only fits the evolution arc of Rick Owens, but also it prepares the audience that something big, mammoth, monumental will take place in their collection. The opening of the show, where we see a spiral staircase, was a foreshadowing of the whirlpools and swirly hypnotic drapes that will shower the collection. The spiral being an eternal circle of evolution. There were things that were knotted, there were things that were manipulated. He has a way of creating a sense of disarray, a sense of dissonance that is both unsettling and liberating. And together, these form the show's first 9 flowing sculptural looks. With Nina Simone's Black is the Color song, it is Rick Owens' love letter to himself from himself.
Black is the color of my true love hair, his face so soft and wondrous fair.
It's actually a very beautiful song. It goes, black is the color of my true love's hair. His face is soft and wondrous fair. I love the ground all where he stands. Thank you. Bye. So the opening is a calming therapy of the collection. We see a series of woven tunics with whirlpooling imagery. You know, when we watch a news forecast, whirlpools suggests a storm, and there's always something calm about it. Hence the phrase, the calm before the storm. Also, the calmness here is the effect of these Buddhist-like tunics. Have you ever seen a Buddhist? If you compare their uniform to Rick Owens's usual drapey tunics, I think you'd think they all came from the same collection. They're very, very similar. Courtney Love, in her foreword for the Temple of Love book, described Rick Owens as a chill, non-reactive, mellow Buddha. I'm very, very lucky to have this woven tunic gilet from the Runway collection, magnificently. These look like a cacophony of drapes, but they all came from the single fabric. Wearing this, it gives me this heightened state of Zen and glam. It's like a mix of a Buddhist tunic and a corset gown. These crossover don't happen often in fashion, but Rick Owens is magnificent in hybridizing concepts. As the show progresses, we see the fluffy clouds separate and dissipate, and underneath we see an archipelago of jackets. And also this description brings us to the first item that I wanted to show you. You think this is a fashion review? Of course not. This is also a pickup review. And like any other looks from that collection, there's so much details to take in, very overwhelming. We begin by dissecting the fabric of the base. This is more of like a cotton twill, very structured and stiff. And then it actually has this skeletal framework that Rick Owens is known for. And this skeletal framework we will see for his next collection, which will be the Tech Waddle collection. Yeah, a simple jacket with an hourglass figure. And looking at it, it gives me this mixed media art povera type of installation where we see a cacophony of fabrics mixed together. First, we see this gauzy tulle here, almost deconstructed and disheveled. When I received the jacket, I was like, oh my God, I think the jacket is badly worn. But then I did my research and I found several pieces online, and I think they have the same disheveled and distressed fabric here. And then you get this cap sleeve. Then across the chest, you see this thick, elongated ribbon. I think this is a nod to Jean Harlow's costume for the film Dinner at 8. The ribbons are almost dragging on the floor, very dramatic. And you know, Rick Owens, Rick being Rick, he loved the drama. I think the addition of this ribbon is not ornamental, but rather, I don't know, something disruptive. You have the option of tying this across the chest. The drama is not done yet. On the side here, you get this fine, floaty tulle fabric as well, but in a finer texture. Plus, this one is a recurring theme for the Ed Fu collection in 2023. His take on a romantic dinner jacket. But you see, the tulle that you see here is not a romantic tulle. It doesn't have the same language with Chloe or Dior. Rick Owens' tulle is grotesque, smoky, is avant-garde, sugar-free, bitter, poisonous even. It's an overgrown spider's web that illegally latched itself on an aging jacket. That's how I see it. Upon wearing it, it does feel like an armor. A carapace of an insect with all these skeletal frames that makes the jacket eternally rigid. All these details give a frozen in time imagery of a smoke. Rick's version of how his jacket has evolved through the walrus effect. In Rick Owens' words, fragility is what I was going for this season. Blobs of linen, tulle, and thread-worn t-shirt jersey are haphazardly draped and swagged, twisted and wrapped around the body, gently and softly distorting it. And being a clothing architect that he is, he continues, crop jackets constructed of tulle and buckram scaffolding are a blunt American's interpretation of a delicate Art Nouveau Parisian confection. And I love that statement so much because it summarizes how Rick Owens sees himself. Like he is admitting that he is simply an American trying to interpret French fashion. And we have all seen and laughed at memes about Americans versus French. Because like when you think about French fashion, you instantly see a tweed jacket from Chanel or a frothy tulle gown in lavender by Dior. And for Rick Owens to claim this territory of conventionally feminine and pretty dresses, so sweet that you can almost taste the sugar, is him breaking the fourth wall. He wasn't even trying to impress. He simply designed what he wanted to exist, and I think that's beautiful. We all know that tulle dresses has long held a romantic place in fashion, right? It's been used by couture houses, it's being used by the wedding industry, from RTW to fast fashion, from designers like Giambattista Valli, Molly Goddard. And finally, I'm happy to say that Rick Owens is part of those iconic designers who have done their stamp on the French tulle dress. I know, from the screen, it just looks like a regular goth dress with a trapeze shape. But if you collect Rick Owens' dress, it has the Rick Owens stamp all over it. It has a crew neck neckline, a very high armhole. It's almost like an elongated tank top. It's a very, very stunning piece, especially when worn with a Rick Owens boots, with a Rick Owens jacket. I don't have a specific name for this dress, but this is one of the key pieces from the Spring-Summer 2017 collection. I was chatting to the lady who works at Rick Owens, and she even said to me that she remembers this dress, and they even had this in a longer version. I wish it was a longer version, like a maxi dress. So this Rick Owens dress, built entirely of layers of tulle, transforms the traditional fabric, often associated with ballet, French, couture, romanticism, into something architectural and defiant. When you put on a Rick Owens dress, it's just so powerful. I think it's because it channels and taps on your fragility. There's something fractured about this beauty that he's trying to propose. And even Rick himself said in his show notes that he wanted to champion clothes that has this floatiness, that has this buoyancy, and of course, tulle would be the perfect fabric as it floats in translucent waves, catching light in different forms and shadows. Yeah, it's very floaty, especially when you move. That's the charm of a tulle fabric, how it defies gravity almost. And of course, there's something childlike and fragile about it. If you look at Rick Owens' tulle dress here, you have this skeletal framework that gives the dress this geometric solidity. Although it's tulle, I don't see it as a romantic dress. I actually see it as a brutalist dress. The textures of the tulle is very coarse and abrasive, almost akin to a fishing net. The netting and weaving is so large that it resembles like tiny windows to a brutalist building. And this rapturous dress could also be a reference to a jellyfish dress. If you remember in Ep.1 2023, he has done a lot of iterations of those dramatic finale looks. And I think the WALRUS collection was the proponent of the glam era of Rick Owens. Usually in a runway show or in a fashion collection, stylists often pair things that are complementary. He is truly a thinking designer because instead of using the old formula of long red carpet skirts, he used these crazy boner skirts that behaves like shorts, wherein the wearers is able to move, they're able to climb stairs, they're able to show off their badass boots. All ever evolving and beautiful, these boner skirts go way back from his early 2005 collection entitled Scorpio. Maybe that's why he wanted to highlight boner skirts for this collection, because boner skirts have this alien-like aesthetic. And I haven't seen a skirt that is more defiant than this one. A beautiful abomination to clothing. This is one of my grails. This is the boner skirt in satin. This is from the Runway collection, and I got it secondhand. As you can see, there are some imperfections here, but I'm willing to overlook that because this is such a rare piece. You know, it's basically just a dramatic diaper. It's a diaper made of satin. How cool, right? Now the bonus skirt is described as shorts that has extended panels in front and back to provide a hint of extravagant abandon. It's an amazing maxi skirt that on the front it looks like a monolithic column skirt, but on the side you can reveal and expose your bare legs or your badass boots. And on the back you get a shorter version. And this unevenness, this dissonance of structure is what makes it special, is what makes it desirable. The beauty of this is you can wear either way. You can wear the short as your front detail, or you can wear the longer one, whatever floats your boat. Equally, they would give you this dramatic silhouette. It is sexy yet ceremonial, and those two words don't really go together, but in Rick Owens' universe it does. And when you wear this, you almost feel like an Amazonian warrior princess. Boots and shoes have a narrow and extended squared off toe like a squashed tailpipe. And I even had to Google what a tailpipe is because I had no idea. This is the WALRUS boots that I own. Looking at it now, it actually looks like a squash metallic tubular piece, like a missing piece from a John Chamberlain installation. And the shoes in that collection is an evolution from the previous collection, from the Sphinx collection. This to this. Can you see the resemblance? This will be the shoe silhouette that we would be seeing for the next couple of seasons in the form of the Kiss boots, which is this one. As the silhouette soared skywards and sidewards, the textures were softened to the point where capes in the final part of the show were constructed out of ostrich feathers sewn end to end to create these impossibly long strands. These clothes are reaching and stretching and swelling and floating and sweeping. The fabrics are crisp like the thinnest silk taffetas and washed silk gauzers or sturdy like industrial cottons. And for a designer who is known for leather, sex, and sleaze, the WALRUS collection is a glamorous collection that the House of Valentino could only wish for. It's because Rick Owens' fashion compass came from two technical geniuses. And their influence to Rick Owens is subtle but deep. The show notes articulated the draped figures as if a medical diagram were sketched by Madame Grey. It's fashion not about ornament or glamour, but about how fabric behaves around the body. It's a very couture mindset. Which brings me to the next piece from the runway. Guys, this is the Falcon jacket. Knowing that shipping these things would be super complicated, he allowed himself to be creative. And that's what I love about Rick Owens. What you see in the runway is what you get in real life. And it was even included in the Rick Owens book. At first glance, it's a very solid and complex jacket, almost like a carapace of an insect. This is a typical Rick Owens vest with an exaggerated waist and peplum, but with a diabolical choice for fabric. So let's quickly deconstruct this jacket. The base of the jacket is similar to the jacket I've shown you earlier, the same sister, the same DNA. The ribbons that you've seen earlier could have been a morph version for this one. And it has this blade-like structure here. Overall, it looks like a shell of a robotic arthropod. It's both magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. And he even said that he really likes things that are solid. This time, the clothes seem to be floating and things were barely stitched on. Like you see this fabric here, it's almost like attached, but not stitched fully. And across the chest, you get this jersey overlay emerging from the seams. And there's so many stories that you can build from this outfit, you know? It could also be a jacket that morphed from a shirt. He would never know the true and accurate intention of Rick Owens doing this. But I guess the star fabric of this piece is the buckram tool or the interface. And according to most sewing books, buckram's rigidity is a disadvantage when flexibility is needed. Because in his show notes, he talked about fragility, he talked about softness, he talked about floaty fabrics and spongy fabrics. But then again, why would you use buckram? For me, this is not just about femininity and softness. It's about beautiful, grotesque structures, confronting silhouettes, brutalism, if you will. And that is why he is a very effective avant-garde designer. Not only he defies the fashion system, but he also defies the codes of dressmaking. When I was thinking about buying this piece, I wasn't entirely convinced. And one thing that truly convinced me to get this is the side profile. Every side, every profile has a different look to it. Like you see this grotesque hunchback detail here. And when I saw this detail, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get it. I had to get it. I will never let go of this piece. This will forever be in my closet, in my wardrobe. This will be my ghost outfit when I die. Now the collection journeyed from quiet sadness of sinking into a shadowy vortex, only to emerge somewhere brighter. And now we see a series of bright colors. Colors for this season are mauve, scab, copper, rust. And this is how Rick Owens used optimism as clues for this collection. One color that truly captured my heart is the lemon yellow. According to Rick Owens, it took him a while to become confident with color. He likes it when colors clash and also when there's not a lot of color. He's a great storyteller of colors, despite us believing that he is only designing for people who loves black. There's a piece of this collection that focused on beading. During 2015, Rick Owens started that embellish technique. But for WALRUS, Rick Owens wanted to tap on mystic symbolism. According to him, it's a linear interpretation and a simple motif historically used to symbolize holistic benevolence, as in Christ's Sacred Heart or a smiling sun cartoon. And I think this is the start of his ever-recurring Radiance motif, popularly seen in the Montclair collaborations. And I think he just simply wanted to highlight the sun here, for the sun is the driving force behind evolution. And of course, I have a dress right here that speaks volume about radiance and the sun. It's almost like wearing a sun. This is such a dramatic piece from the runway, but in the runway, they used the black version of this. But I'm quite happy that I got the lemon version. Colors make everything unique, I guess. Although this piece was mainly overshadowed by the more intricate and couture-like creations on that collection, for me, this is the very definition of the WALRUS. First of all, the fabric is polyester. It's akin and similar to Issey Miyake's pleats. And I think he used polyester for this one to preserve the bounciness and the frothiness of the fabric. Inspecting the fabric, you get this different striations, different stitches, and I think it contributes to the stretch and movement of the fabric. It almost gives a jellyfish and aquatic silhouette. This is the pelican dress, and like I said in the review, he was referencing not only the walrus but also a lot of avian creatures in this collection. This pelican dress is characterized by this massive dent in the front. Right here, almost like a whirlpool and a kangaroo's pouch. This whirlpooling detail would be seen in the next few collections. The thick collar echoing the drapey and solid neck of the walrus as well. It has this oversized cowl neck detail here that you can use as a hoodie. Yeah, it has a very beautiful, graceful structure to it. And as a nod to the walrus creature, it has this paddle-like oversized sleeves on the side. Gives you this constricted, walrus-like anatomy. And wearing it with my boner skirt, the pieces transform the wearer similar to the walrus's posture and anatomy. And also, despite it being named as WALRUS, The collection has a lot of avian references. Probably because birds are the last survivors of the dinosaurs. There were the falcon dresses, the pelican dresses, jackets that seem to have growing wings in them. Or is it more of like a broken wing? And then Owens standout fog coats were made from thousands of hand-knotted ostrich feather. The collection also spoke about bulk, stillness, and creature-like presence. The tension between weight and grace. He's a clear example that evolution is not a ladder, it's a symphony of mutations. And his designs are always shifting, always reaching for forms and designs we haven't yet imagined. Overall, his collections are autobiographical evolutions coming from one DNA, his DNA, and basically speaking, they all came from one dinosaur. But yeah, this collection is one of the most graceful collection a designer could offer to mankind on the basis of his highly sophisticated techniques imbued with historical and technical references. Fashion is not art, they say, but allow me to say this, and I think the world won't crumble and fall apart if I say that this collection is art itself. So that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you again on the next one. Thank you again. Bye. Take care. Ciao.